All right. Welcome to the City of Lawrence Board of Public Works and Safety. Call the meeting to order for May 26, 2022. First order of business is minutes of the regular meeting on May 12, 2022. Is there any updates, changes, anything? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I wasn't here, so I can't.
I move that we approve the minutes at our next meeting when we have a quorum to do so. And I don't think I need a motion or anything for that. So moving on to the next item, it's unfinished business, none before us today. Let's move on to new business. Item A is the request for the Lawrence Municipal Building Corporation to execute documents conveying the property located at 9530 East 59th Street to the City of Lawrence.
I can explain that one. So this is actually the property where it's the Station 40 Fire Department with the Ivy Tech building where there's a sublease attached. The building corporation leased this to the city back in 2000 as part of the bond deal when they were constructing the fire station. And as most of these leases say, when the bonds fell off, the property is to automatically transfer from the building corporation to the city, which would come through the Board of Works. So the property transferred as a matter of law, but we technically need a deed to be recorded to reflect that. So it's basically just a motion here for the building corporation to deed that over to reflect the property transfer.
So this is where I got a little confused. So the building corporation, that holding company is no longer going to have the building under?
Technically, they don't right now because it was, the lease said as operation of law, when all of the debts were paid and everything that was needed to be done in the lease was done, that it would transfer to the city. So that did happen. I think, I forget when the bonds were paid off, but a year or so ago.
Yeah.
So it legally has transferred to the city, but we need to just have that recorded and reflected via a deed. So we've had to do this with like the Starrett Center too, through the Parks Board. What I usually just do, it says we have to request that they draft the deed, so a request would be then just a motion for them to execute documents.
Meaning execute the new lease?
No, just a deed transferring the property.
Deed transfer, okay.
Back to us.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? And if none, do we have a motion on the building corporation deed?
Motion to approve the transfer back.
And I second. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item A is approved. Next item on the docket is the request to release the improvement bond and acceptance of the bond and stormwater improvements in Silver Stream Section 1.
So Arbor Homes has started a new subdivision, Silver Stream Section 1. They're just now starting Section 2. But Section 1 is completely done and ready. The storm sewers are in. We had a private inspector inspect them as they were being installed, and they've signed off on them. Our city engineer, Sri, has signed off on them. And we're requesting the release of the improvement bond and acceptance of the maintenance bond and acceptance of those storm sewers into our inventory.
All right. More taxpayers.
Yep.
Very good. Well,
I got 3 houses pending right now. They'll be issued tomorrow.
that's great. Yeah, David Weekly is completely sold. It's exciting. All right. Well, thank you. With that being said, is there any further questions or comments? If none, if there are none, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the request to release improvement bond and accept maintenance storm bonds for water improvements.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item B is approved. Do we have any comments from the administration?
We have 3 more
We
items.
have,
Oh, wait,
yeah, we have
Sorry.
C, D, E, yeah, 3 more.
I'm sorry, I don't have,
Who wants one?
oh, okay. I'm sorry, I had half of the agenda, so my apologies. Next up is approval of Tom Ashcraft as a reserve officer.
Thank you. Sergeant Tom Ashcraft recently retired as a full-time officer after 35 years of service here in Lawrence, and he approached the department and asked if he could remain on as reserve to continue giving back to the community. Pretty remarkable for a person retiring after 35 years of service to want to continue to give back to the community, but that's exactly what he's asked to do. So it's a win-win for us all the way around to have Sergeant Ashcraft remaining on our reserve division.
Well, that's great news. That speaks well of the department that retiring officers would like to continue their service. So kudos to the department and the culture there. So thank you very much. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Thomas Ashcroft as a reserve officer.
I second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved for Tom Ashcroft to be a reserve officer.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, and item E is approval for, item D, approval of resolution for master governmental lease agreement and Schedule 1 with Regions Capital Advantage, Inc.
So I'll give some background on this. I believe it was the original master lease agreement was back in 2016 or 2017, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 15, 16, I think.
So what we do with the master lease agreement is it kind of sets your maximum amount that you can do per year in leases, and then we use that lease financing to basically continually upgrade our fleet, whether it's police vehicles and ambulances, fire engines. So we do that on an annual basis. In this instance, that contract needs to be, I'm kind of viewing it more of an amendment, if anything, because it's really not even changing the bank. It's just a division of the bank. In this instance, Regions is changing to Capital Advantage. So it's essentially, I believe it's the exact same agreement we've had, but the parties have just changed on the contract.
So it's like an annual CapEx kind of
Yep.
guidance line or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
So we were just doing schedules. I know you guys did some schedules.
Schedules, yep.
But then this time they said because it's a new subset of the bank, we'd have to do a master lease agreement and it has the same terms as the old one. But we would have to have you guys approve the new master lease agreement and the Schedule 1, and then we would start going through kind of like you guys have been doing.
Yeah. So every year you'll continually see those lease schedules as you have seen them. I believe we did, not just probably 6 months ago, I think we did one for, the most recent 3, we did one for the garage, we've done one for fire, and we've done one for police.
Yeah.
So that'll still happen. One of the things you'll see now, though, is they're going to be a little bit larger than these individual pieces because we're going to start to do 1 or 2 a year. So we'll kind of organize and get multiple departments under one lease rather than one lease for police, one lease for fire. And that's more of an operations thing from Regions. So the total dollar amount won't change that we issue a year, but the number of schedules we'll do will go from probably 4 or 5 to 2. Yeah.
And to clarify for anyone that's watching, this is a dollar buyback or dollar buyout lease. So at the end, we'll own vehicles.
Yeah, and we
It's not
typically,
a continual lease, or anything, just so that's clear. All right. And then, any other questions, Sean, or?
No. No.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve resolution with Regions Capital Advantage Incorporated.
And I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll also, if we could approve Schedule 1, we're not like signing it this time, but you're authorizing the mayor and the clerk to sign everything on that once it gets to that point.
And I'll even clarify, that does the funding piece, but then to buy the equipment, because of the dollar amount that some of this equipment is, we still come back to you for that approval to even buy it. So you actually get, in this instance, you're going to get 3 levels, 3 attempts to approve before we actually purchase anything. It's probably a good practice, but normally it'd be 2. So you approve the lease funding amount, and then you approve the individual equipment purchases. So you'll hear from the streets related to theirs, you'll hear from police, you'll still hear from fire.
So what is the cap on that for where you have to bring it down? 250?
2.3,
The amount, I thought it was 2.7.
or what's in the,
Schedule 1 is not the set,
1.2.
it's less than the master lease.
okay. So
Trying to
we have
pull it
a,
up.
we
It's
have
like
the master
1.
lease sets the annual amount, like, it sounds like lease 1 is, of 2 is 1.2.
2 million.
Yeah, so that covers a backhoe for the parks, an ambulance for fire, 10 police vehicles. They had to get a motorcycle replacement, and then it covers
Oh,
sewer.
so is it, to bring it back in, the purchase needs to hit what number? Is it, I'm just wondering if we can raise that. If we're approving the master lease, why do they have to approve each item?
Approve each schedule.
Is
That's
there
just the way it's always been set up,
Yeah.
is that each schedule then, with the actual amount and the
Kind of like
equipment
you
listed
set
goes.
like a credit limit with the master lease, and then essentially each lease is a new funding, essentially, so a board needs to approve us the funding mechanism of the lease.
Okay, I was just wondering if it was below X amount, you could do it versus bringing it up in front of the board. I'd
Still need,
seeing if we could
I would think
streamline it.
best practice would always be, of course, the master lease, and then each schedule. I know we were doing even smaller ones last year, just to come before you guys and get everything approved that way
like
too.
if in this instance we were doing them individually, you'd see one schedule for 100,000, one for 270,000, and we would just keep doing all these individual schedules.
Not that I don't like seeing you, Tyler.
I know.
It's just I'm trying to, if there's a way to make it easier.
Oh, well, I agree. This was a bit of a fun,
Expedite the
Awesome.
process, I think is the better way to say that. But, okay, well, thank you, sir.
So we did the motion, I think, for the master lease. We didn't do the motion for the Schedule 1, did we?
You want me to just restate it?
Yes, just if we could do
Do I?
either the master lease and Schedule 1 together, or both.
I'll just do
Can I
them
just
together.
say it in the, okay, go ahead.
Motion to approve the resolution for master government lease agreement and Schedule 1 with Regions Capital Advantage. Right?
Perfect, thank you.
And all in favor?
Oh, second.
Or second, I'm sorry. Getting behind myself. I second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Resolution D is approved for the governmental lease agreement, and Schedule 1 with Regions Capital is approved. Next item is the ratification of the city's agreement with Power and Sons Construction.
so this is a duplicate on this end, so Caitlin can elaborate on
I was
why.
gonna ask.
Yeah, so I know we already entered into that, and then after, you guys had approved it, I think we had already signed on our end, and Powers and Sons came back with some changes. I ran through all of those, and they were actually, Garmong had made changes to the standard contract, and they wanted it changed back. So none of it was bad. I read through all of it. It was some changing things like 5 days to 10 days, changing their contact name. There was one thing I had an issue with, and so they agreed not to change it. It didn't change the money due or anything. The one thing, and Tyler, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they needed additional time to get things done. They still said it can be 60 days, but not 60 days from May 6th. It would be 60 days from the notice to proceed, which should be, basically now.
That was just more of like their timing. They didn't want to be tied to the effective date of the contract.
Like May 6th, they couldn't get it done in 60 days. So we said that we were okay with these changes, but we would need you all to just ratify it because you didn't approve the contract with those changes in it. So that would probably just be like a
Short
motion
of
to
it is
ratify.
the dollar amount didn't change and nothing really material changed on it. When do you remember off the top of your head the completion date now? I think I knew it was they start June 6th, and I'm trying to think when they're expected to complete.
So I know I asked Garmong, does this mean that they can't do it in 60 days? And he said they still could, 60 days with a notice to proceed, which would be basically now. So I still think it should be the same general timeline.
Okay.
That was a lot for what was pretty much just.
Yeah, we just have to technically have you guys ratify the contract because they've made changes to what it was when we approved it.
Okay. Do we have a motion to the ratification of the city's agreement with Power and Sons?
Motion to approve?
And I second that motion. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion E is approved. And any comments from the administration?
Nothing back there. I'll just say if we could do a tour of that space, I think I mentioned it before, but that offer still stands. So once we get far enough along in the construction over there, we'll maybe tour you through what it's looking like in the middle and then what it looks like in the end, just for fun.
Oh, yeah.
Like.
It'll be, will it interrupt any?
No, once the construction starts, they're gonna have entrance on those side doors and it'll be blocked off for just them. So no major traffic interruptions from the main entrance of the building. I mean, I don't believe there'll be any interruptions to get to DPW during that time.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And any other comments from administration? Citizens' comments? I don't see that's. Oh, I didn't know if you had something.
I'll talk briefly about a couple of projects.
Yeah.
The public is aware of it.
I have the same computer for work.
Sri, the city engineer. So Purple Line is finishing up their construction on Lawrence, on Otis and Wheeler. They should be done by end of June. They're entering their last phase of the Wheeler, so that should be done. 56th Street reconstruction between 465 and Boy Scout Road. That's going to start, it's through Indianapolis DPW. It's a partial depth concrete reconstruction. That's going to start in the next 2 weeks.
So are they going to grind that down to the bones and then?
Now they have it's a concrete joint repair, so they'll just patch up concrete all along. Eventually it'll look like brand new concrete, but they're not going to rip out the whole section. It's going to be sections at a time. But it's still going to be a lot better than what you have there, all new concrete. So that's going to start next 2 weeks. I think it's going to be done by mid-October. Schools will still have access. One line will be open at all times. 56th Street won't be closed. It'll be partial closures, one line at a time. So I think that's all I have on the construction side.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
And no other comments I can hear, or I don't see any people? Do we have well, before that, I would like to say our hearts and prayers are to the Lawrence North family for the unfortunate loss of one of their athletes. We're all have them in our thoughts and prayers, and but beyond that, everybody have a good holiday. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.